Welcome to Desire. We blend innovation and tradition with the world's first self-parking car and one of the oldest names in luxury motoring. We sample some of the best vintages Paris's City Hall has to offer and take the advice of a very futuristic wine waiter. But first, it's a high-tech paradise of futuristic gadgets. More than 800 companies from 27 countries gather each year to exhibit their cutting-edge IT and electronics products at CTEC. One of the most desirable items on show last time around was this 5-kilogram bicycle riding robot called the Murata Boy. It was created by Japanese robot firm Murata Manufacturing Company, and it can reach speeds of 30 inches per second. And it can balance while riding on a thin pathway that slopes and twists. It's equipped with 4 types of sensors. 2 gyro sensors to detect angular velocity and inclination, an ultrasonic sensor to detect obstacles, and a shock sensor to detect rough surfaces. The robot is connected to a PC for forward, stop, and backward type commands. And it can follow pre-programmed paths. It's about 2 foot tall and can even balance while at a complete stop. By developing this technology further, this robot could be able to carry heavy loads and run on high and narrow places, like a dangerous construction site, instead of people. Toshiba showed off its latest motion capture technology. CG models on live screens moved in unison with human models, who kept moving from side to side. It doesn't use any markers or sensors which need to attach to a person to capture human motions. As it doesn't need much time to replicate the moves, the company says the technology could be used for a wide variety of applications, for security and surveillance purposes, for instance. By this markerless motion capture technology, you will be able to try on new clothes without actually doing it. You can see it on your CG body, just by standing in front of the camera. For those who prefer their technology a little more tried and tested, a rare collection of pinball machines and amusement arcade machines dating back to the Victorian era is up for auction in the UK. This is a mutoscope, also known as a what the butler saw machine.
It comes down to 2 things with mutoscopes. It's the actual machine as well as the contents. The reels, the saucier, the rarer. If it's a rather challenging subject, for example, there are reels showing whaling, for instance, which is very un-PC now. Those would be highly desirable as a collector goes, but more landscape scenes or perhaps action shots, Edward Muybridge's scenes of horse running and walking, those reels are also particularly collectible. The 3 mutoscopes we have in the sale contain reels of a peep show nature, and those would obviously be sought by collectors for the machine as well as the reels.
Perhaps the most unusual items on sale are these electric shock machines. 100 years ago, it was thought to be good for the health to have several hundred volts applied to the human body.
The Nick Costa collection of amusement machines, and it spans a variety of machines and the history of the coin-free device from 1875 to around 1950. In the sale are one-arm bandits, various wall machines, fortune tellers, dispensers and vendors, skill machines, and a vast quantity of pre-decimal coinage for your machine.
These slot machines were designed in the early 1930s in Chicago and heralded the dawn of the age of casinos in America.
the idea of amusement machines are to amuse a wide audience, but they are gambling machines at the end of the day. Some of the more novelty associated items, perhaps the Charlie Chaplin war machine, which you have to catch a ball in his top hat, wearing his famous tramp's costume. And then moving on to more adult ones is perhaps the Allied flags, where you have to defend your country's flag by covering the enemy's flag with the Allied flag. It was produced in 1916 and only one of 5 known to exist.
These machines were not about chance, but all about skill. Of comparable vintage are these 300 historic posters highlighting many aspects of travelling, from the iconic period of sailing abroad through to stunning continental rail posters, and those used to promote the birth of airline travel to the masses.
We find that theming the sale is very popular with our collectors. They like to have a focus and something to buy from. We have a huge selection of shipping posters, very early ones from the Cunard lines and the White Star line, which was obviously the famous, the Titanic, and the Cunard line ships, the Mauritania, the Lusitania. They have very long names. And they're very early, very collectible posters and extremely rare.
The sale includes quite a few examples from the Cunard Shipping Company, which promoted their ships to those looking to travel the globe in style. There are also a number of rare posters from the Shell Oil Company, used extensively to advertise Britain around the world.
Shell did a campaign sort of from the 1930s onwards of wonderful posters, visit Britain's landmarks, people prefer Shell, that kind of thing. And we have a lovely selection here. We have film stars prefer Shell, firemen prefer Shell, actors prefer Shell. So they used a very broad selection of people to sell their product, and they used the best artists of the day.
There's also a collection of posters by Terence Cuneo, who captured some of the best of British train travel over 3 decades. His work bears not only his signature, but also a mouse somewhere in the image.
He was a wonderful painter of the railway subjects. So his paintings sell for tens and hundreds of thousands, but the posters, you can have a wonderful poster of his lovely steam trains, and that's sort of £1,000–2,000.
Another major artist is Roger Broders. His images for French railway company PLM are for travel to the Mediterranean, emphasising sun, sea and foreign escape to exotic locations throughout France.
He does very iconic posters. They're very bright, colourful, 1930s, elegant ladies, beach scenes, Saint-Maxime, beautiful, lovely Côte d'Azur. It's just very collectible. He is one of our best artists, absolutely.
The sale of these posters, focusing on a bygone age, show how images of travel from the past still enjoy a very modern appeal. Coming up, a self-parking car. Nervous parkers rejoice. The answer to your prayers is just around the corner. The latest generation of smart cars can do all the hard work for you. The new luxury Lexus LS460 has been installed with a self-assist parking system. With the help of sensors, cameras and radar, this car can literally park itself.
So as we move up to the parking space, the sonar detects the position of the cars in front and in back of the empty space. And we need to stop by the car in front, then we need to pull up a little bit past it so that when we put it in reverse, we'll be able to see that car in the rear view camera. Then we push the parallel parking button and it projects this rectangle. Now I want to move it out a bit so we don't hit the curb, and then we need to position this flag at the bumper of the other car again so we don't hit that, and then we tell it okay, hands off the wheel, and we just let it come back slowly, because if it goes too fast it'll yell at you. And now the wheel starts to turn. And now it starts to turn the other way. Oh, see, it's scolding me for going too fast.
The guidance is finished.
And it tells me when it's done. There are sonar sensors in the front bumper. They detect the position of the cars in front and back of the parking space. Then when you set it up on the video screen, it projects a little rectangle. You move that to where you want the car to go, push OK, and you let it move back into the space. You don't touch the steering wheel. There's electric power steering, so it does all the steering for you.
After aligning the car in the proper spot, there are sensors which track the surrounding cars and their positions as you park.
Well, there's a rear video camera, backup camera, so you've got to watch out for things that might be moving in back of the car. The driver's still in control of this. It just does the steering for you.
With the autopilot system, the driver never has to worry again about accidental bumps or running up on the curb. After the parking process starts, the driver's job is easy. Just sit in the front seat with arms folded or even with your hands in the air. People passing by on the streets of New York admitted they were slightly shocked to see a man parking his car with his hands out of the sunroof.
It was pretty cool. Definitely something I would definitely buy.
It was pretty amazing. I just walked by. I couldn't believe what I saw. His hands were out the sunroof, and the car was parking itself. It's pretty cool.
Automotive editor with Popular Mechanics, Don Chaikin, said the magazine was so impressed that they've awarded Lexus a Breakthrough Award for such innovative and useful technology.
The self-parking, or the self-assist parking as Lexus calls it, is innovative, and it's also a harbinger of what's to come. And the harbinger part of it is really what's truly noteworthy. This car takes that much more control from the driver and puts it in the hands of the car. This is a car that, under specific conditions, with some modest amount of driver control, steers itself. The ramifications of this are absolutely mind-boggling. By combining the hardware and the software using for parking with other emerging technologies such as radar, onboard cameras, various sensors, engine controls, brake controls, the car that can drive itself literally is right around the corner.
The Lexus LS460 will set you back $61,000 US. The partnership between Charles Rolls and Henry Royce produced some of the most luxurious and expensive cars in the world. It's now more than a century since the founding of the Rolls-Royce Motor Car Company, which came about after a chance meeting.
In 1904, an aristocrat called the Honourable Charles Rolls was looking for a good car to take him around the continent. He met this engineer, Henry Royce, who was from Manchester. They met in a Manchester hotel and they got on so well they decided to make cars together. So in 1906, they were making their first Rolls-Royce. It was the Silver Ghost. In 1907, that was known as the Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, and that's when the Rolls-Royce Motor Company really started to get going. They've been making cars under other labels before.
Before 1904, Henry Royce's company, Royce Limited, produced only electrical motors and generators, while Charles Rolls' company sold quality cars in London. At their first meeting, Royce took Rolls for a spin in one of his cars. Legend has it that as he climbed aboard, Rolls asked Royce to start her up. Royce replied, "My dear fellow, she's already running." Since then, their joint names have become synonymous with extravagant decadence.
British heritage.
Beautiful car.
Expensive.
Distinguished.
Rich.
The winged lady icon and R&R insignia became a global mark of motoring excellence.
It was really, it became an iconic thing because of the quality of the engineering, the comfort, the suspension, the smoothness of the ride, all those qualities that the very rich look for in their motor cars. And the design of the radiator, the flying lady mascot, the R&R symbol became global synonyms for excellence and quality, and of course very British brand as well.
The car production side has now been taken over by German car manufacturer BMW. The latest Rolls-Royce vehicle, the 101EX, was recently unveiled at the UK Motor Show in London. Perhaps not quite so luxurious, but equally desirable and British. The Matchbox toy car recently celebrated its 50th birthday. Fans of the miniature masterpieces braved a chilly afternoon to mark the occasion. Matchbox is big business. More than 3 billion tiny die-cast vehicles have been made since the 1950s. Collecting Matchbox cars is also lucrative, with top prices of £2,000 or £3,000 sterling.
I think it's the solid build of the Matchbox models. It's a well-respected mark. I mean, you say the name toy car to anybody, most people will automatically think Matchbox. They're just a very well-known make, and they've been going so long as well.
This is one of the original Series 1 road rollers, which could be bought for just a few old pennies. They're still cheap to buy new, but their appreciation value climbs quickly. This auction at the toy store held by London auctioneers Bonhams might just have been a bit of fun for charity. But wheeling and dealing in Matchbox cars is no laughing matter.
As time goes on, then they become more and more desirable and they become rarer. I'm finding at the moment that Matchbox toys that were produced in the 1970s are starting to achieve pretty good prices, whereas maybe 5 years ago they were relatively cheap.
Experts advise collectors to keep the original packaging and look out for any small defects in design. Your toy could be worth serious money. Coming up, a presidential selection. Wine lovers and traders from all over the globe came together to outbid each other for top French wine from the cellar of Paris City Hall at the Municipal Auction House of Paris. The collection included some of the best vintages from the last 30 years. Bottles dating back to the days when French President Chirac hosted lavish receptions, as well as big tab meals in the gilded City Hall building. 5,000 bottles from the first-class ranks, essentially from Bordeaux. The great wines like Petrus, Chateau Petrus, Chateau Haut-Briand, Chateau Lafite, Rothschild, Cheval Blanc, Ozon, all are present and in the greatest years, 82, 89 and 90. The socialist mayor Bertrand Delano decided to sell off the wine collection after an audit revealed its value had risen sharply over the years. In my personal view, I think that we are getting rid of them for the simple reason that to put a bottle worth €1,500 on the table at a function becomes insane. Do you think that Lord Mayor of London could welcome Tony Blair and serve him with 20 bottles of Petrus and throw €25,000 or €30,000 of wine on the table? I don't think so. The auction went for several days, and prices ranged from €5 for the less expensive bottles to thousands of euros at the top end for exclusive items such as a bottle of Romanée Conti made in 1986. Stephen Williams, president of English company The Antique Wine Company, won the auction for the 2 bottles of Romanée Conti on sale, and he happily paid €5,000 for each of them. Williams also bought most of the bottles of Chateau Petrus that were up for grabs, paying €4,000 for each one. He was very impressed with the quality of French wine.
My company, based in London, supply wine to clients in Asia, the Far East and the United States, where people actually buy these wines and open them and drink them. And therefore, it's necessary that we know as much as possible about where they've been, because we guarantee these bottles. France makes the best wines in the world, and provided that they're stored properly, then they'll still be good. And here we are in the capital of France, in the City Hall. And so the wine cellar at the City Hall should be, you can't really get much better guarantee than that, can you?
Wine connoisseurs, too busy to waste their time standing around at tastings, could soon hand the job over to one of these. Japan's latest robot is poised to take on the world's gourmets and sommeliers. WineBot is about twice the size of a 3-litre wine box. At the end of the robot's arm is an infrared spectrometer. When objects are placed up against the sensor, the robot sends a beam of infrared light in the direction of the object. Part of the light scent is absorbed, but part returns and is processed in real time to determine the object's chemical content. By identifying the wavelengths of the infrared light that have been absorbed by the sample, scientists believe the robot can correctly identify the unique organic components of up to 30 popular wines within 20 seconds. When it successfully identifies the wine, the robot speaks in a childlike voice, adding additional comments on the taste and body of the wine. For the serious application, we can think of quality control. Certain food goods change or degrade its quality as time passes. With this function, this robot can tell the quality has changed without opening the package. On the other hand, this robot has a sense of taste, and it can memorize the taste, which we also find delicious. But of the thousands of wines on the market, the robot can be programmed to accurately identify only a few dozen wines at a time. It has increasing difficulty after the wine bottle has been opened and the wine begins to breathe and thus transform chemically. But Hideo Shimazu, director of the System Technology Research Laboratory, says the robot can determine very subtle differences. You see, the basic components of wine are basically more or less the same in any wine. The taste changes very subtly by a subtle difference in amount of the components. Because the difference is so minimal, the difference of the components in wine, we needed to detect this subtle difference. That was the difficult part of developing this robot. Wine lovers at a recent wine tasting session in Tokyo thought the concept had some market potential. Philippe Bramaz says that the major auction houses such as Sotheby's and Christie's may be interested in the technology. I see a possibility in this robot to analyze the spectrum of expensive and old wine and to say whether they are real or not. That way, the data of spectrum should be small enough for the robot to deal with. Auction houses such as Sotheby's and Christie's could use this technology to tell whether the wine is real without opening it. Developers estimate the robot will cost 100,000 yen, or $1,000. Next time on Desire, we try a $12 million diamond on for size and find out why the devil wears Prada. We recover some riches from the deep and sample the world's most expensive cigar.